Joe talks about Joe. And now, your host, Joe Slepsky.
Hello, and welcome back to Joe on Joe. It is me, your host, Joe Slepsky. And we're back for a very special episode of Joe on Joe Illustrated this week, guys. It's a very special episode, and do you want to know why? Many reasons. First of all, today, for you new listeners, we're covering G.I. Joe 119. And the reason that is special is just because it's one of the very few, very rare comic books that was not written by Larry Hama himself. It was done by artist and writer Herb Trimpe. G.I. Joe Legend returns to the comics. So that's why it's special. And the other reason why it's special is this is the very first episode of Joe on Joe Illustrated that I'm doing with a guest. That's right. You longtime listeners know the cartoon episodes that we covered, because we've covered all the Sunbow and all the DIC and Extreme. It's too early for me to scream that. We've covered all those episodes, and I normally have a guest with me, but when I do the Joe on Joe Illustrated episodes, that is a solo show. And so today we're opening up the halls of justice, Wrong Cartoon, and I'm bringing in a fan of the show, a listener, a new friend, to join me today on G.I. Joe 119, Joe on Joe Illustrated, out of Rochester, New York. Everyone, let's welcome Roderick Castle. Roderick, welcome to Joe on Joe.
Hey, Joe. Thank you for having me on.
I'm very excited to have you on, Roderick. So, welcome to the show. You are you're a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. You are a mental health therapist, and you're here to talk today, one, mainly about G.I. Joe, and two, about your really, really great and important work at the Veterans Outreach Center there in Rochester, New York.
Yeah. Thank you, Joe. Well, I've been a lifelong G.I. Joe fan, and I feel like if you're ever going to have a guest on your G.I. Joe Illustrated, I'm like the perfect guest. I mean, I'm a veteran. I'm an art therapist. I wrote my thesis on how to use comics in therapy.
Wow.
And then starting to specialize some of that work with veterans. I was lucky enough to teach art therapy with veterans, graduate level class at Nazareth College this summer, which was a great experience. Some new art therapists, teaching them specifically, like when you're working with vets, what you need to think about and what works best. So,
well, this is fabulous. Well, this is why I wanted you on. This is why I wanted to talk to you. You've sold me once again on having you on the show. I love it. So, Roderick, tell me more. We'll start at the beginning with you. So you're a U.S. Marine Corps vet, and you said told me you served from 94 to 99. What was that experience all about? When did you join right after high school, or what was your experience?
I did a little bit of college. I went to Buffalo State College, and I did 3 years, and was moving into that fourth year, 22, thinking, I don't know what I want to do,
Yeah.
And I jumped that ship and walked down to the recruiting station, and like within a couple months, I was in boot camp.
You showed him your bare chest, and you said, "Tattoo it, tattoo it, baby."
I was waiting for my tattoo. I was waiting for my sky blue vest too.
Yeah, right. Did you ever get that?
No. Well, I made it eventually.
Oh, did you? Did you really?
Yeah. That was a great Halloween costume.
Listeners, that's what we call living the dream.
Yes. And walking in with my girlfriend at the time, I convinced her to do Lady J. So it was like,
oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gung Ho never had a. Well, I mean, I feel like his romantic interest would have been like an alligator.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a solitary dude, I think.
Yeah, very much so.
Mostly.
Very much
Mostly.
so.
Affable but solitary.
So you served for 5 years, got out in 99, and did you do any of the mental health training or any of that research or studies? Did you do any of that in the Corps itself? Or
well, That's interesting because I think I did, because I think that's where I realized I was good at guiding, especially younger guys who, a lot of us guys in the Corps, the reason we're there is we grew up without a dad, or in one way or another.
Mm-hmm.
That's something you see. And so by the time I got out, I was 26, and I'm counseling guys who are, 17, 18 years old. And I'm like a big brother figure, and even a father figure to some of them. So
that's wild, because most people at 26 are the ones that need in heavy, deep need of therapy. And there you were,
exactly.
doling it out.
Exactly. Yeah. So it brings some of those skills up, and you realize I'm pretty good at helping people calm down when they're in a heightened state.
Yeah.
Put it that way. Yeah. Or if they're dysfunctional at the time, dysregulated, we say. So if I have the ability to emanate some of that energy to people, and I seem to have that skill set, that's what I should do. So tried to work all the pieces in. My being an artist, being a veteran, being a mental health counselor, and then I'm going to use the word shaman, because I do some work. We have a community that is going back to some, just getting back out into nature as therapy. That is the therapy, and that's shamanic practices, from the old days.
Mm-hmm.
Bring that in,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Bring it all together. Bring it all together.
I think I'm a big proponent of mental health and of people seeking mental health. It certainly has been a boon for me many times in my life. So so I'm 100% supportive of that. And yeah, I think that our brains have evolved for so many years that a lot of the solutions aren't always, they weren't created in the last 20 years, so there is a lot of just old world holistic
human
stuff.
Beings made it this far.
And it's not,
we have our issues, but
and it's not magic, we're not talking about, magic powder, magic dust, just more of a naturalistic, the current trendy way of saying it is, let's put down the phone and connect with nature, but that's setting that aside. The principle there is that your brains have more memory, have more what's it, like, sense memory, or you're more in tune with the world than you realize, and so the more you can be in tune with that,
exactly,
and holistic and natural healing and stuff. I think that's cool.
Yeah, and some of the vets I work with, I talk about bringing the spirit back into their life, something, and it's not about religion, it's not about any belief system, but it's about humans have that need to have something bigger than just what's down at their feet.
Right. Well, you were telling me before we started the show that you use creative art in your therapy, and art is the art is that 1,000-year-old medium, that way of creativity that connects people across generations. If you just look at paintings from 200-300 years ago, and they're saying a lot of the same things we're saying today. They just did it 200-300 years ago, and they're messaging to you. Cave, this goes back.
To express.
Right. And comic books, I'm a huge proponent of the language of comic books, and saying that comic books it's one of the oldest forms of language. It's literally cave paintings on walls. People using images to represent actions that happened, part of their stories, part of the stories they wanted to share. So at what point do you start bringing in like the creative art therapy and things like comic books, and or you tell me what you do? What kind of art you bring into it?
When I got out of the Marine Corps, I went back to the same college, Buffalo State College, finished my degree, which was a
They were standing at the door with their arms crossed, and they're like, "You're back, Roderick."
Yeah, wow, it's been 5 years. Nope, no, nobody else noticed. I just noticed that the girls were a lot younger in my classes than they were the last time.
You still have the keys to the same dorm room.
Yep. Yeah, that's great. So thought maybe I wanted to be a high school English teacher because I got my degree in English,
Mm-hmm.
because I love literature. I just see all creative arts as one big swath of humanity. I don't make judgments about
Mm-hmm.
this is high literature, this is low. It doesn't matter.
Right.
It's all art. It's all art to me. So I think I could get that enthusiasm and get it across to high school students. Maybe I want to be a high school English teacher. Okay. But did a few education classes, a little too regimented for me. So started working with kids, with at-risk youth at one of our facilities here. And I started spending time with the kids that didn't go to the gym when it was an option. They just sat around the house.
Yeah.
Set up a table with art supplies. And then I noticed not only these kids making art, and they look kind of happy where they're in horrible circumstances. They're actually talking to each other. They're kind of forming a little these are the geeky artsy kids,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, this is therapy. And I'm like, maybe I want to be a social worker. But then I realized there's this thing called art therapy, which is a social worker, a therapist who also can use art in their work. And I was like, that's for me.
Mm-hmm.
And luckily, we have a nationally certified college here, Nazareth College of Rochester, that does graduate work in that. So I applied and had to take a couple psych classes, but got in 2007, graduated in 2010, and I've been out in the community doing the work ever since.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Mostly with veterans now, but I started out working with kids.
Oh, that's really great.
Yeah.
Now, your G.I. Joe experience, you were telling me you started kind of in like that second round, that second wave. When they introduced, they got away from everyone in the greens and went introduced dudes like your favorite Gung Ho.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember. I want to use your memory too, Joe. The comics, when that second wave came out, there were comics coming out, right?
Yeah. The comics were out by that point. Yeah.
Yeah, because they almost coincided at times, right? Like Gung Ho premieres in the comic, he might be on the shelves. They
definitely at I'm not exactly sure timing wise. That's a good question. On the early stuff, but absolutely they eventually got in sync with having Larry introduce the figures around the comic time, for sure. Definitely when you get to the a couple years later when they wanted to introduce say Battle Force 2000, obviously a few years after that. But when they wanted to do that, that was timed with, it was, hey, we have this big launch coming up this year. We need you to get this in the comic by then, for sure.
Yeah.
And it was probably in play back in the early days. I don't want to confirm that right now because those numbers, those dates aren't.
The reason I'm thinking is because I feel like my first experience was a comic book.
Mm.
And I think I just saw it as another group, another team. It's like, whoa, who are these guys?
That's what I've said a lot on this show. Is I just looked at them as a superhero team, and everyone had their own. Everyone had their own superhero identity. They were. It was
the same for me with I think at first because I grew up with a single mom, down in Florida, actually, Orlando, and we were lower middle class, and she would buy us some comics sometimes. So we weren't going to the store every week getting a toy or something. We were getting a Transformer or a G.I. Joe maybe once every 3 months, 6 months or something. So yeah, I didn't even. I probably didn't even know they were toys like Transformers, Team America, that kind of crazy stuff.
Team America. Oh, that was a great comic.
I just thought there was another
US 1 and Team America. You combine those two comics, you got me smiling. Well, it's interesting. So you just touched on something that, and I don't know that it's still. I'm going to make this point, but I'm going to say maybe I'm off base. Maybe it's just that the entertainment has just shifted to being digital online and stuff.
Mhm.
But talking to, I certainly, we came from, middle class, we didn't have, a ton of money. We had to save up to get, save your allowance to get a GI Joe kind of a thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't whatever you wanted. And, with figures being, what were they? Were they $1.99 or two? I don't even think they were two. It was $1.99 or $2.50. Figures being such a low price point, even then, relatively low price point.
So like
and comic books, being
that,
comic
like
books
what would that be like now? Like a $5.99?
That's what I'm getting at is that the entry point, whether it was a figure or a comic book, which the early issues, well, the first issue I think was $1.50, but that was deluxe format stuff. But then I think it was was it 75 cents? The entry points were so, for new material, were so easy to get that it did bring in such a huge range of people, and not just that, it was so cheap I could buy every single character out there. Certainly there were those people, but it was, I can just get a few because I don't have a ton of money, but I have a couple bucks and I can get a couple figures, or I can
you feel like you're still part of the universe.
That's exactly it. Yeah. And I can keep up with the current trend and be a part of the current conversation because I can afford 75 cents a month for it. And and for a whole lot of reasons that were we don't have enough time or probably expertise to get into right now, but new comics are $4 a piece now. And action figures, let's talk classified, which are gorgeous figures, and I'm an adult collector, so I appreciate them. But the big G.I. Joe action figures are $25. And the reaction figures, which are the only ones on the shelf that I see now over at Target, are $18, $19, And maybe that's caught up with, maybe that's caught up with inflation. I don't know. But that seems like a steep price point for that everyman kind of experience. And whether or not, and this might just be old man, get off my lawn, or it might mean nothing. I don't know, but that's gotta be an element. Yeah, it's gotta be a factor in reaching these kids. It's got to be a factor in the modern day as far as getting kids into the only thing I see.
I've got a friend with a couple kids, and they're like perfect for me to kind of watch. Like, what are these guys into?
Yeah.
The only thing I remotely see them having any rotation with is some 6-inch classified figures that have come their way.
Yeah,
because somebody's bought one because it looks like a cool.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they look amazing. Yeah.
If grandma's at Target and she knows the kids into soldiers, she might grab one of those.
Yeah.
So I've seen that, and I purposely thrown a couple their way.
Oh, that's cool. That's really good.
Gave Flint to one and Beachhead to the other kid.
I love it. Well, one, congratulations on finding them at a Target. Two, so that's an whole nother issue. And two,
it's so weird there.
Cool. Yeah,
that's so weird.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Yeah, I don't know. The future was always promised to be cheaper, right? You remember when CDs first came out? And it was oh man, because they're not manufacturing cassette tapes with all the moving parts, CDs are gonna be so cheap.
Yeah, it's just a disc.
And then it was, oh no, new albums are still $20. Oh, okay. Well, when it goes digital, everything's gonna be so cheap.
Now there's not even a physical object.
Yeah, it's gonna be so cheap. And it's like, no, when a new album drops, it's still $20 if you want to own it. Oh, okay. Well, now streaming is gonna be so cheap. And sure, your monthly streamings, like for one service is less than, $20 a month for most things, but you have 18 different streaming services in order to access all the content that you're interested in viewing. So really, where to have, and you own nothing then, and you own nothing.
Yes.
So before it would be
with electromagnetic pulse, you'll lose. all your property.
Yeah, before it was yes, I spent $20 on that album, but I would have it with me. I would be able to
It's a
appreciate.
piece of art too.
Yeah, right.
You know,
Appreciate the cover art, the sleeve art, the
put it on the wall.
Right, yeah. Put it on the wall, put it, whatever form it was something you physically owned, and now you pay someone $15-$16 a month to lease whatever music they think should be on their platform, and if they don't have a contract with some artist for it, then you're never going to hear that music. And as far as streaming like channels go, you're never really going to be able to find a movie you want to find unless you're doing a specific search for it, and then you have to look through 15 different streaming services to see if it's even available anywhere. You pay for 14, and the 15th that you're not actually paying for is the one that it's on, and then you pay them half the cost of ownership in order to watch it, and then you never really own it. Well,
yeah, there's got to be a way. I've seen people getting creative, getting ways around stuff.
Well,
it's not pirating, but they're like
it is pirating.
Yeah, I count on. I watch G.I. Joe the movie. At least
that's not digital anywhere, right?
No, but there's somebody put it up there, and it's a pretty nice 4K.
Yeah, and listeners, if you want to do me a favor, why don't you head on out to social media and follow me at Joe on Joe Pod. That is Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Send me an email if you want to be a guest on the show, or if you want to help contribute to the show, or just tell me this show is terrible in any way. Send me an email to joeandjoepod@gmail.com. And while you're on the internet, you're doing all that subscribing, you're doing all that rating, you're rating the show on your podcatcher. You're going to our Patreon page, patreon.com/joeonjoepod. If you want to help support the show. I also need to go to our sponsor, the Movies in a Meal podcast, and I need you to subscribe to their podcast because they're talking movies, and they are our sponsor, and they are fantastic. Listeners, I know what you need in your life. You need more podcasts. And you also love movies. So why not do a podcast that's about not one movie? It's about not two movies. It's about 3 movies and a meal. I'm talking the Movies and a Meal podcast. This show is great. It's brought to you by Keith, Brad, and Ben. And each week they bring a new movie to the table, which they all discuss as a group. And it's not, your highfalutin movies. It's What We Do in the Shadows, The Fantastic Four, Rise of the Silver Surfer, and Out of Sight. It's Bad Education, Ghost Rider, and A View to a Kill. It's X-Men Last Stand, Queen Sugar, The Mandalorian, and Major League 2. They are a lot of fun to listen to. You guys know Ben. It's our friend Ben Pensarga. He was a guest on Joe and Joe. In fact, Ben was the very first remote guest that I ever had on this podcast, so he's always got a special place in my heart. I'm really digging this. I just started listening to it last week. It is a lot of fun. They bring a guest in. The guest, I listened to their Heathers episode. They were joined by Kelly, and she went in depth on her favorite movie, which was Heathers, and it made me want to go watch Heathers to watch with them. I really dig it. So guys, find them out there at Movies and a Meal, Twitter, Instagram. Their website is moviesandameal.podbean.com. They put out 1 episode a week. Give them a listen, guys. Support them. Let them know Joe on Joe sent you. I don't think you're going to be disappointed. It is quite entertaining. And now back to the show. So Roderick, we're gonna dig into the comic book, and I'm excited to do that with you. And I want to find out more about the Veterans Outreach Center. I want you to tell us more about that as we go along.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
Yeah, absolutely. So listeners, last week we got into our segment.
You were saying,
and I ran into a website hurdle where the website, the Marvel database, the Wiki fandom, Marvel fandom wiki, stopped showing the Marvel comics, and it did. And it's not fixed yet, and I haven't found a solution yet. And so I think also I got confused last week, where I think I covered the comics for this month last week. So anyway, I'm real confused.
You're playing with people's memories, Joe.
I'm real confused as to what books came out. So we're gonna do a modified version of it this week.
Yeah, and real quick, I'll tell you, I realized this. I've got some notes here as I was going through. The reason I would not have read this comic, because I was probably picking up G.I. Joe once in a while. It's like post high school, going in college. That was I think some of us went through that stage where we kind of dropped the comics, put them in the closet because we were starting to
Oh, sure.
maybe
Yeah.
want a girlfriend or something.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe at some point a girl might see our room and we wouldn't want a G.I. Joe poster up. We'd want at least something sports related or,
True,
a
true.
girl.
I have a secret. I have my secret shame. I didn't, speaking of that, I don't mean to stop that thought.
No.
But I was not a guy who had like posters of either real women on my wall at home or like comic book women. I just didn't do it. For some reason, when I went to college, because I had one, I thought putting up a full 4-foot tall poster of a Jim Ballant Catwoman underneath the bunk bed of my freshman bed. Now there was no prurient. There really wasn't I wasn't using it for anything, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I thought that was
everybody else.
I thought that was my sign of right. I thought that was me showing maturity of like, I'm on my own. I could put up pictures of women, but I also love comics. It must have been so creepy for the very, very, very limited number of guests that I had that would have seen that. I don't even know. Like, I look back on that and the word cringe comes to mind, and I don't even know what to do with it.
Don't have too much shame, man. It was part of your process. Part of your process.
From a therapist, I'll take that. I will absolutely accept that love.
Yeah.
For sure.
I did the same thing. I did not to that extreme, but mine was that Bill Sienkiewicz Elektra.
Oh yeah,
where she's standing with the gun and the sword,
sure,
with her back.
Sure.
That's what I slapped up on my dorm room, and my roommate. I just think he didn't get me. He was like, "This guy's a weird artsy dude."
Yeah, it's from Electra Assassin.
Yeah, love that.
I love it. Yeah. So along those lines, guys, I literally I'm looking at the months. Like I remember last week some of the comics I spoke about on this very podcast, and I'm pretty sure I covered the wrong month. So I'm gonna do my best to do a research deep dive and kind of get a reset. I didn't have a chance to do it before we recorded this episode after last week's kind of the confusion started. So we're gonna do that. We're gonna try to do that. But I am going to do a little bit of, because I do love this segment.
You were saying
in the film world what was going on, and the last one we discussed was July of 91. So we're just going to move to August of 91. And if we have to again adjust that too, and Roderick, if any of these movies resonate with you, jump in. The movie Body Parts with Jeff Fahey.
Body Parts.
Yeah. Where
that was off my radar.
Yeah, this is a sci-fi horror film. I've seen this and I feel like it's kind of like a Reanimator thing, but it's been a while since I've seen it. The bigger movie on August 2nd that I did see in the theater, because who didn't love Michael J. Fox, was Doc Hollywood. Where
I did not.
Yeah, he was a Hollywood.
I was a big sci-fi fan, but not more. I would stay away from more of the horror related stuff.
Well,
so
Doc Hollywood. Doc Hollywood, possibly the scarier movie. He was like
I probably would have went to that if it was taking a girl or something.
Yeah, he was like a Hollywood, I believe, plastic surgeon, if memory serves.
He goes to a small town.
I think it might have been
good.
Yeah, that whole
learned
story.
A lesson, like not to be so greedy.
Yeah. Also, I've never seen this, but God, do I love Rodney Dangerfield. Rover Dangerfield. It's Rodney it's an animated movie.
Cartoon dog, right?
Yeah, Roger as a dog, as a talking dog, or Rodney
as Roger. G-rated, right?
It oh God, is it G-rated?
I think it was for kids.
Oh my gosh,
they did weird stuff like that back then. Like I loved how they would try to brand,
it is
something very adult, pretty much adult to kids, by toning it down.
Well,
but it was just weird sometimes.
Shoot, what does it say? So it does have. Oh, it is a. Oh no, wait. Hold on. It was originally planned as an R-rated film, like Ralph Bakshi's, but Warner Brothers wanted the content to be toned down to a G rating. Wow.
How do you do that?
How do you do that with Rodney Dangerfield? It's just that you're not interesting any. The
He's
little
all
kids,
about
little kids don't know who he is, and the adults are not interested in that. Jeff Smith, though, from the creator of Bone, he worked on that film.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, that's crazy.
Because I think I remember seeing some of the animation. It looked like some cool animation, maybe.
Sure. Rover Dangerfield. I've never seen that, but now that's on my radar. On August 9th. Oh, Delirious. I just watched this. This is a great movie with John. Actually, I talked about it on the show with John Candy.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, he's the soap opera writer who gets hit in the head and he imagines himself in his world. It's
and I agree with you on John Candy. It's hard not to like that guy.
It's a lovely film, and Tom Mankiewicz, obviously the man who saved Superman. The movie, he did a really great job with it. I can see why it's not like it wasn't. There was something about it that didn't like pop, as far as like, oh my god, this is a great hilarious thing. But John Candy's performance in it is just so earnest and sincere, and it's hard not to love it. The Commitments came out on August 14th. This is the
okay, yeah, I did see that. Probably not at the time, but probably on HBO or
that about the Irish rock band. That album is fantastic. Yeah,
that's something I would have gone to Blockbuster and rented.
Yes, August 21st. This is a movie that would have been off my radar at the time, but once a couple years later, you're in college and you go, "Have you not seen Barton Fink yet?" And and everyone goes, I've seen Barton Fink.
Memory.
That
was the first artsy film that I went off campus to a city theater and saw it like an art theater. Barton Fink was playing, and it was because all the artsy kids had to see it.
It is such a great movie. It's such a great movie. It's so good. Dead Again. On the August 23rd, I saw this one.
I saw that too.
Yeah, with Kenneth Branagh,
noir,
and Emma Thompson. Yep. Really
Branagh.
good film.
Kenneth Branagh.
So this is a movie. This next one is one that I saw in the movie theater, and I loved it. And I was like, this is who I want to be. I want to be either Harley Davidson or the Marlboro Man.
Oh yes. Those are the two coolest guys in the world.
Oh my god!
At the time,
Mickey Rourke and Don Johnson.
The outfit.
I've revisited this movie. It's so cool, but it's terrible. But it's so cool.
Yeah,
I really dug this movie.
They got what they did with the sets and
I
love that. I love that pseudo future where it's like nothing's.
They were going to build
nothing that different, but
they were building a modern myth, and they were building modern like fresh cloth, built on existing literal advertising stereotypes, but or characters, but they were making an attempt to build like a modern myth, like a new man with no name kind of a thing. And it's a fun movie. It's a really fun movie.
Man, you're making me want to watch it.
I know.
I'm going to watch that tonight.
Totally. And then Child's Play 3. Child's Play 3.
I might have gone to the theater to see that.
I did
with
not.
a bunch of other kids.
Oh wait,
a bunch of other high schoolers.
Was this the one where the kids? Was 3 the one where he's in grade school or boarding school? I think it is. I think 3 is the one where he's the kid's a little older and he's in boarding school. And if so, and this would
my biggest memory is the one where you get the girlfriend.
Oh yeah. Well, so I was working in a movie theater then. Yeah. This was I started working, so I turned 16. Yeah, I started working in a movie theater, and and Child's Play 3 was in heavy rotation. So I think I started in I probably would have started in September, I think. And so that would make sense because we got the movie's second run. Not we weren't discount dollar theater, but the big releases went to the big theater. It was a Cineplex Odeon. And the neighboring one over at the Chicago Ridge Mall, shout out. I worked at the Chicago, the Commons, which was the smaller mall across the street. Imagine a world, listeners, where there were 2 malls across the street from each other because the one mall, which was huge, would just get too much overflow, so they wanted a second mall across the street. Yeah.
Yep.
Consider
The,
that.
the
That
golden age of malls.
there were like 4 bookstores within 3 actual blocks, like 3 inside the Ridge Mall and 1 across the street at the Commons. It was insane.
Real bookstore.
Yeah, so I think Child's Play 3, if that's the one with the kid in the boarding school, which I think it is. I used to see that all the time, so that would have been when I was working there. And same thing with Harley Davidson. I saw that there too. Awesome. That's awesome. So that's it for
You were saying?
It's our truncated version of it. And now, Roderick, are you ready?
Now,
I'm ready.
Mass
I got
is
it all,
ready.
all fired up on my on Comixology.
Fabulous. So, listeners, we're going to get into G.I. Joe Real American Hero issue 119. Now, this is the Herb Trimpe issue. Herb Trimpe wrote it. He drew it. And it's different. I'll say that. It is different.
It is.
Out of the gate, let me broad stroke it. I love Trimpe. I love his artwork. I love how he evolved. His evolved artwork in the like mid 90s on like the Fantastic Four Unlimited stuff. It's very controversial because if you don't know who Herb Trimpe is, you look at that artwork and I think most people go, "Ooh, ugh, it's not good." But if you know Herb Trimpe and you know his history with his Hulk stuff and his G.I. Joe stuff and all of his, you know that he was a consummate professional and he was saying, "I'm going to adapt my art style for the times." And he would have been in his 60s at the time, or late 50s at the most. So think about a guy who's been drawing his whole life, being so talented that he adapted to what we would just loosely call the Image style for his mid 90s Marvel stuff.
He's the kind of guy you didn't want to get stale either.
Yeah, that's exactly it. He was always
he's kind of like he always reminded me of a little more mainstream Steve Ditko or something.
You're
that personality type.
You're exactly right. His line work, I think, is very reminiscent of that. I've got nothing but respect and props for Trimpe, 100%. Even his, because I was some of his Unlimited stuff came through the shop yesterday, and I was flipping through it, and it just reminded me of like, this doesn't work, I think, as a finished piece, but knowing that what he was doing to keep bread on the table, to keep jobs coming in. I'm like, God, that's amazing because he is such a fine draftsman and he is so talented.
People back then should have been felt privileged just to see some Trimpe coming through.
Oh, correctly. And that style of art is not here in this book, but the reason I bring that up is there are some things in this issue that I'm not a huge fan of.
I've got some interesting thoughts about Tom. I think he pronounces it Scioli. Tom Scioli.
Yeah.
Transformers versus G.I. Joe, and I think maybe the Trimpe work now I really see as an influence.
That's a huge influence on the Scioli stuff.
Yeah, it just really popped out in this book.
Yes,
when Trimpe returned.
Yeah, and
there's wow,
and there's stuff in this book that like, I want to call Bobby Chase, who I'm a big fan of, and and go, you guys are editorial. What? How did you? What happened? Like this? So this feels like it might have actually been. And it really might have been an inventory issue that they had.
Oh wow!
That they had commissioned him for, right? And maybe refreshed it with character model work, But it might have been an existing issue. That
interesting
because back then the practice for Marvel was not created, not enlisted. What's the word? You hired people. What's the word I'm thinking of? You hired people to do inventory issues that literally would sit in your inventory for when you ran into scheduling problems.
That's where, back when we were reading comics, you'd be in a story and then suddenly 1 month, just a one shot of something that happened at some given time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's essentially what's happening here because we wrapped up the Destro stuff, but so yes, it's a jumping off point for a new story.
So it's like
this is a one-off.
This is a follow-up, like let's clean up this last little mess.
Yeah, this is just a one-off random adventure that has no relation to pretty much anything else that was going on.
Due to a really a kind of corrupt small airport manager.
Yeah, yeah, right. So I would not be surprised if this was an inventory issue. And the thing with inventory issues is they would a lot of times they would expire. So they were kind of built to be evergreen. But like let's say
I'm glad we're talking about this because it does feel like a very retro issue. Like
yeah,
it might have been in the first 20 issues.
Yeah, if you had an inventory issue, let's just say they had created an inventory issue that was 100% centered around Breaker going on vacation and running into some trouble, right? Well, as you're putting your stories together and Larry goes, "Hey, guess what? I'm killing Breaker next month." That inventory issue would be unusable. So you would either have to change the Breaker to another character, have the guy just go redraw it, which is possible. Or like, let's say it was so Breaker centric that you couldn't use that, but Marvel has paid for that comic book. So Marvel wants to see that comic book used. You might interrupt the normal course of the stories to use that inventory issue.
And thered be some weird things.
Yes. And he'd reference, he might talk about.
Hardcore readers would pick up on like,
he might talk about, man, it would be,
like, you don't talk like that,
right? They might reference stuff, and that's a matter of like editorial having to catch that, and a lot of times they wouldn't. So there's stuff in this issue that doesn't make any sense, and I wonder if that's
one of the things I like about it. It's like I like all kinds of comics, but what I really rely on comics sometimes is that ridiculous factor.
Mm-hmm.
So I tend to move towards like a Tom Scioli or. Like those X-Men Grand Designs.
Oh, those are wonderful.
And,
they're doing a Hulk. I just saw that they're doing a Hulk one, and I forget who the creator was.
I got it. It's coming next week.
I can't. Oh, it's next week. I can't wait. I can't wait to read that. So, well, we're going to dive into it, and we'll run into those discrepancies as we find it. I think for the most part, it does work in continuity, but there's just some stuff that's awkward. And obviously, you longtime listeners and fans of G.I. Joe know the biggest thing that we're not actually, and I say this unironically, saying about this issue that is problematic. Pardon me.
Yeah.
So we got a great cover. This cover is the Spider-Man meme. Let's just start there.
Yeah,
it's two Snake Eyeses pointing at each other, and there's also Storm Shadow pointing at them with guns, and so it's Snake Eyes versus Snake Eyes over an unconscious Scarlet. But this is the Spider-Man meme. This is the two Spider-Men pointing at each other.
Hey, you.
Yeah, that's exactly what this cover is. Which is
Storm Shadow's like, which one's real?
Well, so let's think about it. One, I doubt that was an influence, so let's not. But I want to live in a world where Herb Trimpe saw those Spider-Man 66 cartoons.
Yeah.
We know he did.
Yeah, of course. And it all gets into the collective unconscious.
Yeah, and the whole finger pointing meme is just from the cartoon. So could Herb Trimpe possibly have seen that and that been a factor into the cover here? Because
I love it.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I also like the muted color scheme on the G.I. Joe logo. It's kind of like an orange.
Yeah, I love it when they do the logo in like a weird color scheme, like a mint green or something.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a cover back in the first maybe 25 issues. I don't know which one it was, but they really went nuts with the G.I. Joe logo, and that one really stood out to me.
Yeah, this one it's muted, but I like it. And it actually has shades of the kind of stylization they did for the logo on the latest IDW series. You know how that was like, it was like an all white one, I believe most of the time. So it kind of has that feel to it. So I like it. I think it popped. And then
it kind of brings forth that whole, lately we've been all Ninja Force,
Oh, well, there's a lot of Ninja Force that we're about to get into over the next couple months. But so that's, So any more thoughts on that cover?
No, it's just, it just feels very balanced.
Yeah.
A classic comic book cover with just a quick idea of what's going on, but not too much writing. You know?
It's funny that there are 4 swords on there and none of them are being held by Storm Shadow. He's the one with the machine gun, which is weird.
Yeah.
Yo, Joe!
So here we go. Double Trouble. Story and art by Herb Trimpe. Coloring by Herb Trimpe, and that's important. Letters by Rick Parker. Editing by Bobby Chase. Editor-in-Chief Tom DeFalco. Trimpe did the colors on this, and I think that shines through too. This book looks different. The colors in this book are different. They really are, and they pop. Yeah. I think they're gorgeous. I think everything about this book is attractive and good looking. But the colors really stand out as just a different. It's just especially a different vibe than what we've been used to on the Joe book.
Yeah, especially so you have to think. Herb did the line work, then he did the inking, then he chose. So the yellow shining down on Cobra Commander there, like Herb definitely decided he wanted that very bright. And if you look very closely at,
and we'll get into it. So we've got a cargo. We open on a cargo plane flying over an oceanside dock in a remote island in the South Atlantic, and this plane it's Fly By Night Airways, and we splash.
This is all new. This island, right? We've never heard of this island.
Yeah, before. I don't know what island it is. They don't really say. It's just a remote island. It's not Cobra Island. It's not. It's just a remote island. We splash for cash, which is really awesome. The plane itself is really detailed. Looks very nice. And in the spotlight, as Roderick is mentioning, is Cobra Commander standing on the edge of the dock, flipping the bird to the airplane.
Yeah, I don't think there's any.
Because
it's right.
It's clear
I just
as
blew
day.
It up, and it's like it's right in the center of
his
what the hand would be. It's
is clear as day. He's giving the old one finger salute, and so it's
so
awesome.
I put in YouTube G.I. Joe issue 119, see if anybody had done a review, just to get an idea. And what I found was a short thing by it must be the letterer, Rick Parker, right? He's talking about this specific issue when he got the pages that he noticed Cobra Commander was giving the plane the finger, or the reader, or his editors. He's like, he was trying to conjecture what was going on at the time. It's a nice little thing if you can find it on YouTube.
Yeah, it's pretty great. And also, I want to point out that even though we know it's not Cobra Island, so, but Cobra either A, has some kind of ownership in it, or B, just loves to brand things because the Cobra logo is on the dock.
Right on the dock.
Now maybe I'm thinking that could be some kind of temporary to let the airplane know this is where you land. Don't land anywhere other than this. But if it's not temporary, if it is like painted on, Cobra just loves to brand.
I have another theory. It's still there from when Cobra Commander arrived.
Oh, like a red carpet.
He wanted the logo when he stepped off his
dinghy or whatever. Not a bad thought. So when they land, we learn that there's a boat missing, or a cargo shipment missing.
Yes.
And Cobra
the
Commander,
the way he talks to these guys, it's just great.
Cobra Commander rolls fierce here. He straight up kills the guy.
Yeah,
because he's like, you calling me a liar? And then without a doubt, it's like put one on the Cobra Commander hit belt.
Puts 2 rounds into him.
I love this modern, in quotes there, but this new version of Cobra Commander that we've been getting since he came back from the dead 20 issues ago. He is ruthless and he is fierce. And in this case, he was just like, you're missing one. No, this is all we had. And then he just says, okay, well then you're dead.
Yeah. I would say he's back in black.
Yeah.
He's evil.
Yeah. And what we learned by the bottom of the page is that the airport apparently took off from Eastern Long Island, and there was a crate that was left on in Long Island. So it's flying from Long Island to this remote island.
Yeah.
And that's what and this is the first page. This is the page.
These inept Cobra guys it was probably dark.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, I mean, look,
They're
and
trying
also,
to get out of there quick before the Joes show up.
and also look at where Trimpe sets the crate being left. It gets in the weeds. It's in the bushes. What does that tell you? That tells you they were loading things in the dead of night, right? So they weren't. It's not like it was left in a on a forklift in the middle of a warehouse in the middle of the the light. Like there were people in trucks in the bushes unloading things.
Yeah,
and onto planes illegally.
Commander don't care. He's gonna shoot you.
Yeah. But so this, I mean, right away, this page, and first page looks great and all, but this page, I said, caught my eye and made me go back to double check who did the coloring on it. Yeah. Because everything on this page pops. Trimpe is such a master. He puts the white outline around Cobra Commander and that Crimson Guard in that middle wide panel. He puts that around them to make everything pop. The use of purples and orange on this page is
and a couple stars in the sky.
It's fabulous. And the sky purple for the night is reflected as and the orange on the gun is the same orange as the night sky or the morning sky when we visit the eastern island in Long Island, like the sun's coming up. Like he's using these colors and flipping them to show us a different locale flip, even without the text dialogue on top to tell us that we're somewhere else. Like the colors flip the image for us, but it's still using the same color scheme for the whole page. It's amazing. Really, really nice. Yo, Joe! So now, when this guy, the manager of the airport,
I don't think he ever gets a name, does he?
No, I don't know if he does, but he opens it up, and it's a really great likeness of George Bush,
there's no doubt,
original, which is funny. So I'm reading this. This is how life works, everybody, and this is why, Roderick, I love having you on. You're talking about mental health. One of the things that I've reconciled with my life over the years and worked on is looking for. This is gonna sound a little trippy dippy, but looking for signs or looking for like coincidences in my life and things, and not to ascribe meaning to the coincidence, but to recognize the coincidence and to have an awareness of self to go, oh, okay, these are things that are repeating in my life. That for me, I take it not as a directive, but I take it as you're doing the right thing, you're in the right place.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And it reinforces.
Reinforcement.
It reinforces the direction you're going.
Yes. Yeah. So the reason I bring that up is, so this is George Bush in this comic. I'm reading this last night before I go to bed. I'm like, I got to get up, get up early, do this. We were at the shop and I heard a song on Spotify that I hadn't heard in probably 25 years. I hadn't thought about it in probably 20 years. Probably hadn't heard it in 25 years. Is that song I'm Going to Disneyland from Dada. Do you remember this song?
Yeah,
so he would say all these things like, I just shot a kid in the head, now I'm going to Disneyland. Like these terrible things.
Yeah, it was
Yeah. And I was like, whoa.
One of those underground kind of around.
I was like, man, I haven't thought about this song forever. And so I was really listening to the lyrics. And one of them was, I just flipped off President George. I'm going to Disneyland. And I had to look up. I'm like, well, which George was he talking about? Oh, that was from 92. He was talking about older George. And then I'm reading this comic last night. And I literally texted my buddies going, you remember this song? Blah, blah, blah. I opened this comic book last night. And there's old George staring me in the face.
Yeah. With a dead look.
Oh, a dead eye look. But it's a great likeness. It's a great likeness by Trimpe. So
it is.
So I'll take that as a good sign, Roderick, that you and I were supposed to have this conversation today. This is what I'm saying. This was absolutely supposed to happen because it's great. So this guy's freaked out. He calls something. He just says somebody's got to hear about it. And what I love about this is, and this is really, it's because Trimpe knows how to tell a story. He knows what's necessary and what's not. The next panel is. It says that afternoon, and it's drawn. We see a G.I. Joe tomahawk in the picture, and G.I. Joe tomahawks are very identifiable. Obviously, you're reading a G.I. Joe.
Another beautiful rendering, like just.
Oh yeah, and I mean,
it's got the blue sky coming through the.
Yeah.
You can see through the.
And
Great.
You're reading a comic called G.I. Joe, so of course G.I. Joe is going to get involved. But he lets you know that G.I. Joe's there by using one of their most identifiable vehicles, right? The language of it. Because you can't see any of the people. They're too far away. And he doesn't feel the need to do an introduction of like, hey, Tom, you called us. Yes, I did call you.
No.
I'm General Hawk. Nice to meet you, Tom. Blah, 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 blah.
That's one of the things I love about this comic, and because it is absurd at times, but it's got that beautiful. You can jump. You can just, you'll hear Ed Piskor and Jim Rugg on Cartoonist Kayfabe. Their YouTube channel talk about it. The beauty of comics is what do you really need to show? You don't need to show everything in the gutter.
Piskor and the Scioli we were talking about earlier, those guys, and they really do it. I think they do it more than almost anyone that I'm currently reading, because I remember reading those books and having to adjust to it and going, wow, okay, they're really just getting to the meat of it. And I think there's
a lot of people that really. They can't read comics like that.
No, they can't. I know my wife can't. Yeah, I know what that's but like when you're so entrenched in the style, that's like an uber elevated. It's like in sci-fi movies when you meet like an advanced civilization. They're so advanced, they don't waste time with any connectors in speech. They just go, human, conquer, we eat you, we eat, like stuff like that. So the Joes are called, and it looks like we've got Wild Bill, Hawk. Actually, it's just I think it's just Wild Bill and Hawk there, And so they show up, and
I was trying to figure out is this robot? Did they activate this robot? Is it actually walking around with a personality, or is it just standing there?
They activated it because it says with a flip of the switch. There's the man. That's what Hawk is saying. The flip of a switch. There's the man himself. So that robot is activated right now. George Bush is now. Wild Bill's putting him back in a crate, but it looks like Bush is helping him in. He like the Bush in that second.
He's like an old man, a confused old man.
Yeah, he's holding the edge and he's looking at Wild Bill like, I appreciate you. Not gonna die. Not gonna get back in this crate. Also, I want to recognize this great throwback because it's Trimpe, and Trimpe drew these original Joes. Trimpe'd been drawing Hawk, for not 6 years consecutive, but since 6 years ago, or actually no more than that, 8 years ago at this point. This is old school Hawk.
Yeah,
right.
That's another indicator.
Yeah, this is blonde hair Hawk. Now he's in his bomber jacket, the greatest look of almost any Joe of all time. He's in his bomber jacket look, but his face and his haircut, it's old school Hawk, and it warmed everything in my heart seeing this. I love this.
Especially that close up where he's just staring at the camera.
Yeah.
It's like, I love it.
It's
like,
so
they'll
great.
be back. They'll be back.
So this is, and the plot in this issue is it's a little tricky. So what we learn on this page is, Hawk says, we put a bug in the crate. So, what they're going to do next is they're going to put a bug in this crate with George Bush, a signal that the Joes can track, and then they're going to figure out where it is, and put the crate. They're going to put the crate back where they found it, so that whoever left it there basically picks the crate up. Then they're going to track the crate. So that's the plan.
Hoping that Cobra will take the chance to come back.
Right. So that's the plan that the Joes
it's been at least 12 hours or so.
Sure.
Yo, Joe!
So now later that night, these great purples again for the colors. We got Windmill flying reconnaissance, and they've got the whatever plane came back to pick it up has picked it up. So he's tracking this. He's tracking this bug, and down below, I can't actually. Is it low light? I can't actually make out what Joes there are that are down there.
Yeah.
But Hawk's there because someone calls him General.
Bunch of them, yeah.
Yeah, the only Joe I can really make out that we know is there is Hawk, but I feel like that's supposed to be low light in the
with the big gun and the glasses.
Yeah, exactly. So but it also, I think that might be old school version of Lowlight. Because remember, we saw him, what was it, last issue or 2 issues ago, and he was that new version with the black OT.
Yeah.
In this, even though this is
the
this
blonde
isn't-
hair, right?
right, yeah, this one isn't really clear. This feels like the old school version. Anyway, but I can't make it out, so it's nothing there. So they're tracking the journey of this crate.
Yeah, it's a pretty big operation.
There's a lot going on. There's a lot
Hawk,
going on.
Hawk came up with this on in the moment.
Yeah. So and actually this next page there's a lot of text on this page because there's a lot of heavy lifting to do for what we're doing in this issue. There really is. And so we'll just kind of go through what this is. Cobra has Cobra has what is ostensibly a communication satellite tracking station on an island off the coast of Brazil.
Okay, so that's the island.
And that's where Windmill tracked
from Long Island to Brazil.
Right, that's where Windmill tracked him. One other thing, Cobra pioneered the field of robotics with their bats, the Battle Android Troopers.
Yeah. This is where we get
But now Cobra has made an awesome technological jump. So everyone in the room is on a need to know basis, and they've been storing these robots in this building in off the coast of Brazil for who knows how long and for what purpose. Joseph found a private trucking company. They delivered these crates to the airport in Long Island from the Manhattan Cobra consulate. So the robots are being built.
They're bringing in some civilian contractors.
Yeah, the robots are being built or assembled somewhere in the consulate. So you don't, Corner Hawk, you don't have to be a weatherman to tell which way the wind blows.
Love that part.
An all-out battle in the center of Manhattan would be disastrous. So he's going to send Scarlet, Snake Eyes, and Storm Shadow to locate the facility, activate a homing device, and get out. The facility they're talking about in the consulate. And the Wild Bill will handle the insertion and extraction and the release of the weapon. Windmill will provide backup, and then again, they can never remember the stealth fighter's name, which is hilarious. He will pilot a simultaneous attack on the storage building down in Brazil. Okay, so there's a lot going on. Before we get to this final panel, let's not jump the gun on that. We're gonna get there.
Yeah. One important aspect of this
whole page is
which will come in later when we talk about my character.
Okay.
And what I did in the Marine Corps was I picked up, okay, there's some type of weapon that's going to be fired from an aircraft.
Right.
Wild Bill.
Right.
And release of the weapon. So I'm like, ooh, that's aviation ordnance. And that was actually my job in the Marine Corps.
Awesome.
So I started to really, from this point forward, I was like, I'm watching everything.
That's great. That's great.
Because I love that stuff when, like that movie True Lies, that's the Jedi worked on, that Harrier. So all those guys, we could be like, people ask us, oh, well, the gun can't really shoot that way, Sure. But it's fun to talk about,
Oh, it is. So Cobra Consulate building was destroyed.
Yeah.
Not that we need to see, the contractors fixing it, but it wasn't that many issues ago. It was destroyed right before the big war in Benzine. In fact, literally, Cobra Commander was in the rubble of the consulate building when he heard that the Joes,
continuity issues.
Yeah, when he heard that the Joes were murdered in Benzine, and then he went from the rubble, jumped on a plane, flew to Benzine to kick some tail, right? So the fact that it's totally rebuilt and fixed up is problematic from that perspective. Now, this story could be taking place months later, and we know that G.I. Joe jumps, it's not like a day-to-day adventure. This is a standalone comic, but that's what makes me think that's right. Kind of one of the first things that tipped me off that this probably was an inventory issue done, made for a time before they blew up the consulate, because it was also blown up literally by the two guys in this Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes.
But,
You know, like
but
they destroyed the
they're
concept.
going back.
Right. So
Deja vu all over again.
yeah. So
But
so
it would have had to have been an issue after Storm Shadow came over.
correct. Yeah. So
Did a
so
costume,
this
couple
doesn't
costume changes.
right. Well, that's what I mean. Well, that's the costume
And,
stuff.
and Snake Eyes' face.
Well, okay, so we're gonna get to that. The
Yeah,
costume stuff we can always they can always do a redraw on, you know, like you can go over the artwork and just say you need to update these costumes. So but more that their concept was destroyed. So I don't that's awkward. Secondly, why do they need Wild Bill to do an insertion? It's in the middle of New York. Like I guess if they're doing, I guess they do an aerial insertion, but
yeah, they go through.
Yeah, I guess they do an aerial insertion, so that makes sense. But you know, like it's when I first read that, I'm like, insertion, like couldn't they just take like the C train or something, you know, like you just take a cab over there. Okay,
take a vamp.
But now we'll get to the So now we'll get to the final panel, which is the really problematic one. Snake Eyes' face again. I guess we're operating on a world where Snake Eyes' face did not have molten rocks thrown in it.
Yep.
Because this is the second time now that we've seen quote unquote his face, and it's not messed up.
And he's a beautiful looking blonde man.
Handsome man. He's a handsome man. So his face really doesn't. So I don't remember. I thought the whole point of that
Sholey too, because Sholey opens the comic with and Snake Eyes is you know, he's got from the neck down. He's got the black.
That version of Snake Eyes is I mean his move to make Snake Eyes like that handsome, beautiful guy who then gets disfigured is classic and great. You know? But we're in this continuity. The whole point of that whole Snake Eyes trilogy that was meant to be the graphic novel that turned into 3 issues of the comic, I thought the whole point was to show basically like, he can't escape this fate. Like he got his face fixed, and then he immediately got hot coals thrown in it.
No, and in every reality, yeah,
and I don't think he's wearing a mask here. I don't think this is a rubber mask, because the last time we saw his face a couple issues earlier, he wasn't wearing a mask. He definitely wasn't wearing a mask.
Yeah.
So anyway, I guess you could, if you want this to be a mask.
Quick vision of this beautiful.
Yeah, I guess if you want this to be a mask, it can be a mask. But then it's just one tail. You know, those on word balloons, those are called tails.
Yeah.
So it's just one tail, but it's one tail to this. The name of this episode for the Joe on Joe needs to be One Tail Too Many.
They all say it, and I also picked up on how close the 3 of them have become. Like I'm kind of rereading back from like 100 forward now.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
well,
they're a team. They're a 3-person team.
They're definitely
got their hands on each other's shoulders. Or
listen, if this weren't a family friendly podcast, we'd be having some conversations about what I think they're up to. But
I hear you.
Yeah, but most importantly here, guys, there's a balloon tail going in the wrong direction, and there are 3, and it's not just the wrong direction. So a lot of times in some of the most popular comics ever, they'll just mistakes happen, humans or placement happens, and it looks weird, and balloon tails and some dialogue gets attributed to the wrong person. So you could always say, you know, oh, Jinx said it, but it was supposed to be attributed to General Hawk, who was standing right next to her, and so it reads weird, but you go, oh, okay, something got lost in the translation. That is 100% not the case here. There are 3 balloon tails. There are 3 tails coming off this word balloon, guys.
Yeah. Do you think there's any aspect here, Trimpe? It's like there's a couple times where like, screw you.
Well, he's not the letterer.
It's interesting. I don't know.
He's not the letterer, though. This is Rick Parker, and Rick Parker knows that Snake Eyes don't speak.
You're right.
So even if it's in the script,
did somebody? You might be saying somebody later grew on top.
Well, what I imagine what happened is Trimpe mistakenly attributed, like in the script, like his script might have all said all three of the Joes say when at the same time. And maybe he meant Snake Eyes nodded his head, or maybe he just forgot that Snake Eyes. I mean, I don't think he totally forgot that Snake Eyes doesn't talk, because Snake Eyes certainly doesn't talk for the rest of the issue. So he knows that Snake Eyes doesn't talk. But like maybe in the script, it just said something like all three Joes agree, or I'm not agree, but say when, But when Rick Parker's lettering this, and God bless him, this is not a slam. This is more of a what was happening, everybody. Like the one dude, the dude don't talk when he's putting these lettering balloons together. Doesn't he pick up the phone and be like, this script says to do Snake Eyes and not? Or if it didn't say that and he accidentally put it in there, so let's put it on Rick Parker and say Rick Parker put it in and edit it. Doesn't the editor? Isn't this
somebody?
Doesn't this stand out?
But yet, because that happened, it's just we have this absurd panel, and I love it.
I sound
because it threw me off. I was like, what?
I sound
don't
more
remember that. When he get his voice?
Yeah, I sound more exasperated, I think, than it actually is. It's just we're human, and people make mistakes and stuff. But I got to this and I went, oh, I forgot all about this panel. So I don't like anything on this page.
Yeah.
I think the color's great, the art's great, but all the things that are happening on this page, I have real problems with.
and just even if that is what's happening, they synchronize their speech. That's how close they are.
Yeah. Anyway, so what I do love is the pacing of the story, because then it just jumps right to it, and we see Wild Bill. Yes. We see Wild Bill inserting the ninja team. Pardon me, the ninja team onto the top of the now reconstructed consulate building. And as they're doing it, they're filling us in on the mission too.
Yeah.
So
I love that narrative structure where you're telling
what's
gonna happen and they're showing it happening.
It's classic heist movie rules, like an Ocean's kind of movie where you're gonna walk into the casino and then they show them walking through the casino. So it both visually and visually lets you know what's happening as you're seeing it. So that's great. So the team inserts themselves. Snake Eyes goes through the ventilation system, Storm Shadow through the elevator system, and he cuts off some communication. It's all very Die Hardy, by the way. And Scarlet just pops through some stairwells, and I think Scarlet actually is knocking out a battle android trooper. If that drawing looks, you know what I'm saying?
It looks like it to me.
Yeah.
Look at his chest.
Yeah. So Scarlet's taking out a bat, which is pretty dope.
Yo, Joe!
And it says you should be able to make your way down in about 40 minutes. So from the top, they needed to get to the bottom.
So are you keeping track of Snake Eyes kills?
Well, that's the thing. Are they murdering everyone on the way to the bottom?
I don't know.
Because from the start, they're murdering. We don't know if this guy's murdered or just knocked out. So I can't count that as a kill. But
you see him throwing a grenade. Is that an arm sticking? Yeah, those are arms sticking out.
Oh, those are arms. Okay, so that's at least one, because there's a right arm and a left arm. So we're gonna add one to the Snake Eyes kill count. We'll definitely add one, but I mean it could be a concussion grenade though. So, but we'll give one. You know what? Between that and the other guy, so he might have killed one of them. We'll give him a one. But like these are a lot of bodies. I guess what I'm saying is, for a ninja stealth assault team, they're leaving a lot of bodies to get to the bottom.
And it's like, did they have to start at the roof?
Right. If they had to go to the bottom.
They chose that. That.
Why wouldn't they approach from the sewer? This is what I'm saying. Why wouldn't they we're going to approach from the sewers? You got to go.
I think Wild Bill is always like, he just wants to take people places. He's always waiting.
I think Trippy
hanging around and you feel bad.
He just wanted to draw Wild Bill because Wild Bill is awesome. And we love Wild Bill. So they get to the bottom and they get to this storage bunker. And as Scarlet says, they hit jackpot. And Hawk was right. We've got international chaos on our hands if Cobra survives.
Yo, Joe!
And we see on this page, it is awesome, man. Trimpe goes above and beyond. So let's go through. And what it is, listeners, it's a room full of robots in various stages. Think Westworld, various stages of builds. But they all have very recognizable faces. So that's Colin Powell, right?
Yes.
On the
definitely.
right. That's Saddam Hussein.
Full general uniform.
Yes. Yeah, this is this was back this would have been 91. So this was him at the time. That's Saddam Hussein, right?
Yeah, definitely.
I don't know who the half-built torso.
Whoever that torso is. It looks
Ed Koch. That's Ed Koch.
Yeah. That works.
Yeah. In the background, in not silhouette, but like in very sketchy lines, we see Roadblock, Falcon. I think that one on the left of Roadblock is Snake Eyes. We see Shipwreck.
Yeah, he's just hanging. That makes sense. He's hanging back there.
Shipwreck with Polly. And then the one in the far, and I believe the one on the right of Roadblock, that's Falcon, I believe. And the one on the right of Falcon, could that be Stalker?
Yeah, that one's tough.
Yeah, that one's real. I mean, if you have the comic book, guys, it's really sketchy. Like it's drawn in the background. I believe the reason why is they're trying
not really meant to be looked at with detail.
Yeah, they want to he's and it's a really smart storytelling thing. He's hiding the reveal of what we're going to get in this next page where Snake Eyes gets it's on the cover. Snake Eyes gets replaced. So on the second panel, one of these doesn't make any sense at all. It's a young Elvis Presley. Elvis would have been dead for 13 years at this point. So why is Cobra? And when he died, he certainly didn't look like 1958 Elvis. So I don't know what that young.
Yeah, and it's kind of Elvis. It's kind of Adamant.
Oh, I guess there's a little Adamant, but I think it's definitely Elvis.
Yeah,
but no, you're not wrong though. It is a little Adamant, but I think Adamant was pulling a little Elvis in him. Is that Wolf Blitz? Is that supposed to be Wolf Blitzer? Because it's a CNN reporter.
Yeah,
and it looks familiar, but I can't place the reporter. Gorbachev in the middle.
Definitely Gorbachev.
I believe that's Eddie Murphy. Yep. And then isn't that Rumsfeld? Who was in charge? The big guy. He was in charge of the Operation Desert Storm. It wasn't Rumsfeld. He was the big
I'll think of it.
Hold on.
Norman.
Storm and Norman Roadcoff. Norman. Yeah, you're exactly right. Schwarzkopf. Schwarzkopf. That's exactly who it is. It's Schwarzkopf. Yeah. So we got Schwarzkopf there. So that's
because that pattern. At first, you look at that shirt, you think it might be a Hawaiian shirt, but no, that's a desert.
Yeah,
it's his version of it, like a desert camo.
Right. Yeah, it's totally So that's Storm and Norman Schwarzkopf. So this is great, and these likenesses are fabulous. Like really, really well done.
So apparently Eddie Murphy,
right? Eddie Murphy and young Elvis.
We don't know. He's got connections because he's up there.
Yeah, it's all world leaders and Elvis and Eddie Murphy.
I think maybe Trippy just was a fan.
I think so too. I love it. And we see here, and this was actually jarring and weird because the Joes in that first panel are really, really you're really not supposed to see them. You see General Hawk here, and we don't. It's not. I'll say this: it's not readily apparent that that's just not General Hawk, but Scarlet has found a robot for General Hawk, but it's not called out. So like I would have.
Suddenly he's there.
Once you got these pages in, I think someone needed to say you needed to be more explicit here and have Scarlet say,
or they could have showed Hawk before.
Yeah,
you would have seen him before,
and have Scarlet say something like, "Wow, they even did us. Here's General Hawk." You know what I mean, or something like this. Because seeing Hawk in this picture made me think, wait, Hawk wasn't on this mission. You know, like what is happening? So I think that's a slight misstep. But when it happens, it works for what is happening, which is the robot Snake Eyes, which we don't necessarily know it's robot Snake Eyes yet. Snake Eyes just jumps on Storm Shadow.
Yo, Joe! And I just picked up on something too. On that panel with Hawk, if you look under Scarlet's word balloon,
Oh, Spider-Man legs.
Look at the Spider-Man feet there. So they're also doing.
That's great.
Superhero.
That's great. Well, we know that. Really, technically, they're all in the Marvel universe because Spider-Man was in Transformers and so on, and G.I. Joe was eventually in Transformers. Those two crossed over in the actual series and in the miniseries. But
I love that.
But
thought,
remember, in the G.I. Joe universe, without the Transformers connection, Spider-Man is just a comic book character because there was the Spider-Man early on. They had someone in a Spider-Man costume at entertaining kids, and they talked about like being in a Hulk costume and that they were comic book characters. So in Larry, I know Larry said this in his headcanon, they're separate. They're not a part of the Marvel universe.
Got it.
So, but what that means, but now this wasn't written by Larry, but assuming that, because we haven't gotten to in Real American Hero, we haven't gotten to where the Transformers actually do cross over into this yet. All right, we're getting there. We're getting
it's
there.
coming.
Yeah, but that means Cobra is also making fake robots of fake people, because right now in this world, Spider-Man exists only as a fake person.
Exactly.
And Cobra is now making robots of fake people, which is also funny and weird. So
you got that kind of technology. You made that leap.
You might as well do it, man. You might as well do it. So we get into this next page, and it's a great fight scene between Snake Eyes and Storm Shadow. Quote unquote Snake Eyes. He knocks out Scarlet. That gives her a nice little thwack to the face.
Yeah.
And quickly, Storm Shadow realizes there's been a switch, and the reason you do this early and often, or early in the story, is to establish these robots are legitimate. They're not just bad, because Storm Shadow basically is like, oh no, this guy's a good fighter. Like this robot, they call them Echoes. This Echo is
they're learning a little bit about how these robots work.
They're not just mindless, and they're a real threat.
Some level of intelligence.
Yeah, they are a real threat.
Yo, Joe!
And before we see the resolution of Storm Shadow, we're going to cut over to, we see that this is all being watched on a security camera by Cobra Commander. So Cobra Commander is watching this whole thing, and he's loving it. He's basically seeing that this, the traitor.
He's got his hand. He's got his hands in the evil.
Exactly. The traitorous Storm Shadow is getting his by this Echo Snake Eyes. And then we learned that, and this is part of the narrative, narrative lifting here. One of the Cobra subs is tracking the USS Flag, and it's heading straight for the island. So Cobra now knows that the Joes know where they are, and so everyone's making their moves. We see on the bridge of the Flag, we see the stealth fighter take off.
Yep.
And again, great nighttime work. Great use of the colors in this. Just the deep
purples
and the deep
water.
Right, the green water's great.
And the line streaking through, just create some kind of sense of motion.
Yeah, it's real well done. So this page ends up with the real Snake Eyes leaping into the fray. Yep. So however he was knocked out or whatever by this robot, he's now back into play. Again, storytelling wise, it's really masterful, because we're doing the dual narration over events that we're also seeing. Things that continues here. So it's not just, earlier it was being done by, Hawk was filling in what the mission was going to be, and we saw it happening. Now it's Cobra Commander who's watching this, filling us in on his side of the scheme as we're watching the Joes, infiltrate this mission. It's really well done.
And I'm also picking up on they're implying when Cobra Commander says, no, the real Snake Eyes, those responsible for his escape, is that at some point Snake Eyes was captured and he was being held.
Yeah.
And he has escaped.
Right.
Which is a whole nother story there.
So the Snake Eyes that came into this room in that first panel might not have been Snake Eyes. So at some point down their 40 40-minute tour de force of murder. So maybe that murder,
These are good
maybe that
robots.
wasn't a Snake Eyes kill. Yeah, so he's been a robot for a few floors. Let's put it
Man.
that way. So he escaped, and so now we get some Snake Eyes on Snake Eyes action here. So where you get some good, fun, Spider-Man finger pointing stuff going on. And it's good. And like all good body switch duplicate stories, someone in the mix has to forget who's who.
Yo, Joe!
Not forget, but lose track rather of who's who. And so
there's no way to tell.
No, there's no way to tell. So Storm Shadow is he's torn, and Storm Shadow is like, oh, how am I gonna? What's the best way? I know. I'll point I'll point an Uzi at my friend's head.
Yeah,
like,
and he's actually got to mean it, right?
Yeah, no,
work?
Roderick. I've fired a lot of hunting rifles and guns, and the pistols and stuff for hunting purposes. So I've never actually. I don't believe I've ever actually fired an Uzi. We've been to firing ranges and fired some machine guns, more advanced style military weapons. But I don't believe I've ever fired an Uzi. Have you ever fired an Uzi?
I have not. I've fired something somewhat similar, like a Marine Corps submachine gun type thing.
Yeah. How sensitive is the trigger?
You gotta yank on it, but with the weight of the gun, like you can't let that fall forward because then all the weight will be on your finger. So it's like,
right.
And this is a heavy gun.
Do you think it's safe for Storm Shadow to be putting the muzzle of that Uzi?
No.
The barrel of that Uzi. Sorry.
No.
The barrel of that Uzi right at his very good friend's ear.
Actually, I know Storm Shadow was a veteran of the United States military, and one of the first things they teach you in shooting school is never point your rifle at anything you do not intend to shoot.
Did anyone in that class, when they talked about that, did anyone raise their hand and said, "But what if? What if I'm not sure that my friend is my friend, and I need to prove his identity? Am I allowed to put my gun? Am I allowed to aim my gun at his best friend?"
Well, I would say it actually works because he does intend to shoot. Like
I guess
he's not really breaking a rule. That's the only reason it works. That's Storm Shadow's like that. He's intense.
That's so good. And so we get that the real Snake Eyes would be concerned. He only the real Snake Eyes would actually care if he shot Scarlet in the head. And so when that happens, the real Snake Eyes leaps off and stops Storm Shadow from murdering Scarlet, and then Storm Shadow shoots the robot right through the chest.
But I love when now in that one panel, he's got the muzzle right up to Scarlet's temple. Which is another great panel. It's like the whole bottom is Scarlet. And but he's denying that the robot could have like a real emotion. It's like both concerned. The fake is smart enough to show that. Like the whole psychology of these robots is just fascinating.
Yeah, like I could think of a million different things to do to prove it, other than putting a gun to the temple of my friend. Hey, what did we have for lunch last week?
Just being really observant, because that always trips me out too, that the Cobra, they were able to replicate the exact outfit.
Well, you gotta be up to date.
There's got to be some kind of technology there too, where they didn't have it already ready to go. Completely. They saw him, built it, put it on the robot.
So this page wraps with them making up, and they shoot the camera out.
Yo, Joe!
So now that we're back in that Brazil island, that's not Cobra Island, but it's another island. They've lost contact with the video, and so now Cobra Commander's like, "You fool! Okay, we're just gonna have to wait and see." But they still have the audio, and they can amplify, so now they can hear every word they're saying.
Which is convenient.
Yeah, it's convenient. So but now when Scarlet wakes up, remember, she's been unconscious during most of this, so she thinks both of those guys could be robots.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening? And he loves it. Cobra Commander loves it because he's like, excellent. Open the access door to the assembly Philly. Echo Scarlet, turn the homing device off. So, wait,
Yeah.
so she's pretending. This is where it gets a little confusing.
You find out later.
You find out later. But right now, what we think is she's an Echo, and Cobra Commander thinks she's an Echo, which is weird because Cobra Commander should know if he's activated her Echo or not. But to the story, to the reader,
he's lost control.
Right,
he's lost control of this
right.
whole,
To the reader, we think she's an Echo.
Yo, Joe!
Now, in the Stealth Fighter, old what's his name, he's getting ready to point a cruise missile at the island, right? And he's specifically targeting the building that has all these world leader robots stored up. And back in New York, in the Cobra Consulate, Cobra Commander shows up there. But wasn't he on the island?
He calls her Echo Scarlet.
Yeah, but wasn't he on the island, though? You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
He was on the island. We saw
He
him
was watching.
But he apparently was watching from the consulate. But in the first panel, he's flipping off from the island. So is one of these an Echo?
And then there's supposedly some time that's been between him being on the island and shooting the delivery guy.
Well, we do learn, and I'm gonna real flip just for clarity's sake. I'm gonna end up flipping back. I flipped through the end of this just to refresh my, because I read this late last night. All the Cobras in the consulate building here, where Snake Eye, Storm Shadow, and Scarlet are, we see that they're all robots. This is a couple pages down, so we'll get to it.
Okay.
They're all robots. So then you go, okay, well then is this Cobra Commander a robot? But he's not. He's never revealed to be a robot. He escapes and it's just Cobra Commander. So, like, where is, you know what I mean? Where is Cobra Commander? What is happening here? So this is where I think the narrative gets a little lost.
And why do they have to be robots?
Yeah, they don't. There's no
bring them. Okay, so they can work.
Right. There's no need for these guys. Right. There's no need for these guys to be robots. It's not like in the more modern books. I wasn't a massive fan of the storyline, but it was a big storyline for a long time, wasn't it? Like the robot ninjas. Are you currently reading like the newer Real American Hero stuff?
Now and again. Well,
there was this, and pardon me for forgetting what it was, but like there's this enclave of robots that fight against Cobra, and they want their own autonomy, but I think they started as a ninja, as like a robotic ninja crew, whatever. It's silly,
Yeah.
But like if you were doing that here, and maybe this is the story that helped inspire that a little bit. So I'm here for that. But like that's not what you're doing here. So why do Cobra Commander has no reason to have all of his troopers be robots? Or just why would you spend the money you're making Eddie Murphy robots? You're not making faceless battle android robots. Now maybe these are prototypes.
It's not so they can just cut them down like some comics or cartoons do.
So so we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but maybe these are prototypes or something. So, but on this page, and this is another gorgeous page. These colors are really popping, man. I really like this Trimpe coloring. We find out that they were lying the whole time. Scale face. She ain't Echo Scarlet, and those two robots ain't us. So this is also awkward. When the elevator door opens, there are robots of Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes being held prisoner. But then the real Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes seem to drop from the roof of the elevator to knock out the robot duplicates of them, right?
Yes. I remember that panel. I was like, where did...
Right, but if it's...
That panel threw me off. I was
if
like,
it's
whoa.
right, but if Scarlet's the real Scarlet the whole time, you don't need for them to be robots. You can just have them pretend to be robots, or they're supposed to be the real thing, and it was Robot Scarlet bringing in the real thing as prisoners, right?
This is the brilliance of Cobra Commander, really.
This is this is where I go, what is this is where something.
He's an agent of chaos. He's like the Joker. He just
no,
he makes it so confusing. His plans are so confusing. There's no way
I'd agree with
you can thwart them.
I would agree with that if Cobra Commander was the one making the comic book. Cobra Commander is not the one making the comic book. And I will say something got lost here in translation. There is no reason other than, hey, let's make these guys robots for no reason, for them to be, because they would just be faking to be. This page loses me. This page goes in that page. This page falls into the page of when Snake Eyes talks of, I don't like anything on this page except for the colors. Colors are gorgeous. Colors are really gorgeous. I don't like the story that's happening on this page. It doesn't make any sense. So let's move on. You're right. It really doesn't. So now the Joes fight everybody.
It's a fog of war.
Yeah, so the Joes fight everybody, and they're cutting everybody down, but none of these count on his kill count because apparently we learned that they're all robots.
Yes, which was disappointing because I was kind of keeping track.
Yeah.
And I did negate those.
Yeah, so they're all robots. So then earlier, when we gave Snake Eyes a kill count, does that even count? Because maybe those were all robots. I don't know. But we don't have confirmation, so we're going to give Snake Eyes a kill. But Cobra Commander slips away, and you know, but listen, the artwork is great, nice scene setting, good focus on the action with also still building backgrounds and still drawing backgrounds and keeping us in the moment of in the building. More and more lately, just go off on an old man get off my lawn tangent. I am more and more turned off by modern stories, by modern art that really just says, let's look at the figures and just watch these figures move across a page, and not let's not set them in a location, and you know, and watch them interact with a location to ground you for the story purposes. Let's just see how pretty I can draw this character. It's really off-putting to me, and the more I read some of this older stuff, I go, maybe, you know, some of the art you can objectively say it's produced better now. With, you know, I wouldn't necessarily agree in this case, but you know, production. Let's just say production values with Photoshop and blah 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 blah. But the storytelling's not great. No,
it's really it's that sequential art form. You know, of being able to tell stories with words and pictures.
Yeah, and you have to build a world. You have to build the world, and that includes backgrounds. That includes having real characters interact with real things and things like that. So
and you can't artificially build a world. Like this G.I. Joe universe happened over
the world outside
years,
your window,
and many creators putting their their creative juices into it.
So Scarlett here is asking the question that we just asked. I'm wondering what if Cobra Commander was another one of those Echo robots? And Storm Shadow says, so what's the point? We've set the homing device. Now we're trying to get out of here. That's all that counts. So maybe he was an Echo, which explains how he's able to be in two places at the same time. This top panel of Snake Eyes with his mask off and everyone's lovey-dovey, I could do without that, because they're in a building that's going to get blown up, so they got to run. Let's go.
It's very once again, mask off. It's very similar to the other one. It's a threesome. You know. And he's got his arm around her, and they're just.
So now we have a helicopter hovering over Midtown. A military helicopter hovering over Midtown, waiting to drop a missile or drop a bomb, shoot a missile at a building in Midtown.
Which we find out is a very interesting piece of ordnance.
Yes. So as Wild Bill's hanging out there, a Cobra Stiletto launches past, which has either the real Cobra Commander or an Echo Cobra Commander. We don't know.
That thing's fast.
And it shoots past him. And Cobra Commander says there's still a chance that the electronic eavesdropping shields might prevent them from getting a good enough homing signal to launch that missile. But
which is the first time we're hearing about that.
Right. And also, if you're going to have an infiltration team, instead of doing any kind of missile launch in Manhattan, send them in with C4 and blow it up. You know, like, this is the part of the narrative. I'm like, why did Wild Bill have to be involved in this? Why is he shooting? And I know it's a crazy smart missile with helicopters.
I got some theories on that.
Okay,
It's
well,
like-
let's jump to the next page.
Now we get a nice picture of this ordnance.
Yeah, so this crazy missile gets launched. The Joes are trying to make it out before the missile gets there. This missile punches through ventilation ducts and
First it's going full speed.
It's going
not hovering.
It's just a missile, but then it flies through ventilation ducts into the primary plumbing and air conditioning duct, and then the missile itself pops out a rotor to become a helicopter, style.
Small helicopter, a bomb with helicopter,
a rotor assembly, yeah,
which is super cool.
Super cool, but what
it does? I know.
You have a team there. They should have had a satchel of C. This should have been your backup plan. If the C4 got lost or something, like if you still want to do this, you go, well, he's your backup plan. But you guys are going in there. Take a few satchels of C4 with you and blow it to hell.
The strategic places.
Yeah.
So that it kind of collapses on itself.
Right.
They don't say what this thing is made of, like what ignites it. What the
So now
my theory is it's something special that sucks in, because they're in the middle of Manhattan, right?
Yeah.
They can't have an outward. So it's something special about this thing, but that's all me.
We're gonna get there, because the Chekhov's gun of the whole situation is also awkward. So now Wild Bill is also not only flying his helicopter in Midtown, which I think takes a certain amount of skill, right? With with all the wind currents, with all you know what I mean, as far as like having to focus. But now he's also piloting this helicopter missile.
He's hovering the helicopter and
yes, he's doing both.
And
this missile's trying to make up its mind on which way to go. So now it's flying through the hallways, past the men's
drone.
Past
the it's like a big helicopter drone.
Right. So the helicopter goes on the roof to pick up the Joes, but they're late. And why do okay. Okay. So he's on the roof now. So they went to the basement. So now they're running all the way back up to the roof to escape. It's in New York.
Yeah.
You've already murdered everyone.
Go out the front door.
Go out the front door. Go out the front door. Why are the Joes going to the roof?
Yeah, the Joes run around civilian population all the time in their uniforms.
They open the roof. So now they open the roof door, and they're face to face with this hovering missile. But on the roof. We just saw this missile navigate all the way down to the basement. Or apparently we didn't see it. This is really the part of the issue that is falling apart for me. They open the door and they all got this look of like, what? It's a flying missile, and so they wave hi to the missile, and the smart bomb, moves past them. It's a funny little moment. And Scarlett says, "Let's boogity." There's the stairs to the roof, so they're gonna get. So this missile apparently went one floor. You know what I mean? Like, we had a whole page and a half of this missile bursting through all these floors, and it went one floor because that's where they're at. They jump on the plane. They said, "Wow, let's hit." It's really awkward.
I feel like Wild Bill's just been flying this thing around the building.
It's not great. It's
time wise, you're not quite sure.
It's really not great.
How much time between these panels sometimes.
And then we have to check in thousands of miles away to that island off Brazil. The stealth fighter is about to strike when the stealth fighter gets hit with a random missile that just shows up out of nowhere, and it blows up the stealth fighter.
Yeah. So the plan was to sacrifice.
Well, we don't know that yet. We don't know that.
No, it just.
So then in New York, it cuts back to New York. A very smart weapon is about to do the job for which it's designed, and it flies into the room. And it's a room we see there's a President Reagan with the word reject stamped on his forehead, which is hilarious. There is a Don King, and I
Yeah.
believe
Yeah,
that's Donald Trump.
That's a younger Donald Trump.
And that is gross. But as Donald Trump, and there he is. And if only it had taken out the real echo.
Maybe he got replaced back then.
Yeah, that would explain a whole lot. I'm
Yeah.
looking at the people in the background. I can't really make any of them out. They don't look like anything to me. But yeah, and I think actually, you know what? I think that's also that might be Mick Jagger behind the Trump.
Yeah.
It really might be. It's got like a Jagger lips. It's got longish hair, so it might be a woman, but Jagger has that feminine.
It's gotta be.
It's feminine features. I think that's supposed to be Mick Jagger, which is pretty funny.
Yeah. And I know it's supposed to connotate wiring, but those arms from the ceiling are
oh, it's pretty cool.
It's almost like dripping. It's got a little bit of horrific.
Yeah, it's got great vibes to it. So that smart bomb, it explodes, and it says if there's a noise, are there no ears to hear it? Because there's no, so is there noise? So they blow up this room in the consulate that was making them. They're unable to stop so the Cobra Commander gets a message that Cobra Security says that we're unable to stop the destruction of the assembly facility, but the attack on the Brazil island has met with destruction. Repeat, they've destroyed the stealth bomber. And so Cobra Commander's like, that's fine. We'll relocate our assembly. Glorious victory is still at hand.
Yo, Joe!
And then we get to the final page, and there's a submarine involved. There's now a G.I. Joe submarine, and they launch a cruise missile.
Yeah.
And the cruise missile
at the island
goes to the island, and it hits the facility.
So the Joes did a fake. It's like,
but why?
They swung with one arm, and then they.
But what's the point? You gotta
something there. He figured their guard would be down if they thought they had a leg up. Like they shot down the stealth fighters coming.
But
and then
you don't think
you hit him with the left.
I guess
it's
I mean, can they stop a cruise missile anyway? Like, you know what I mean? I don't. Because let's put it this way. The Joes didn't that was a decoy stealth fighter. Right?
Yes.
It was a decoy. So the Joes just assumed it would. What if they were successful? Like, what if the Cobras didn't shoot it down? Like, were they not going to then bomb?
Yeah, and I wonder if
you know what I mean? Like a backup plan is a backup when things go wrong.
Yes.
This isn't a backup plan. This is the Joes saying, "Yeah, we know they'd blow up our plane, so then we're gonna get them with a missile." No, it's
expensive too.
Yeah, are they calling it? Are they saying they knew it so that they get around not murdering the stealth pilot? Ghost Rider? Like, you know what I mean? What is happening?
Nobody remembers him anyway. So
what is happening? So that's it. They're all everything's destroyed. Yeah. There's a lot to praise on this book visually.
Yes.
It really is a lot. The plot is cuckoo bananas.
It is.
There's continuity issues.
There's strange ordnance that we've never seen before.
Yeah.
Never given a name. There's something about that explosion. If you go.
Well, also
they get a little weird with the weapon. They call it a very smart weapon.
Yeah.
They're like putting emphasis on this thing.
It's cuckoo. We do have postbox from the pit. We got letters from Alan Collins out of Wellington, New Zealand. Christopher Langston, who's in the Witness Protection Program, address withheld by request. Brian Sevier out of Crossville, Tennessee. Howard Muncie out of McKee, Kentucky. And Justin Maradigwe, I think, out of Cerritos, California. And, some good people talking. They're talking about some of the deaths, and they're still, letter page is still reeling over the murders. So, Roderick,
Yes.
as I haven't done in quite a while, it's been a couple years since I've asked a guest this because I haven't had a guest on.
No.
If you were a member of the G.I. Joe or Cobra team, what team would you be on, and what would your code name and specialty be?
Well, I thought long and hard about this. I think I'm going to have to get creative with it because in the United States Marine Corps, my job was aviation ordnance technician.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked on Harrier jets. Those are the vertical takeoff and landing ones. A lot of them are being phased out because the F-35, that Joint Strike Fighter, that's kind of taken over all the roles that those kind of jets used to do. So, but it was a very cool jet to work on. Got to go on a couple small aircraft carriers and run a crew all over the Pacific and Asia. So I know a lot about ordnance that goes on aircraft. So not one person cannot do an aviation ordnance job. As far as I know, G.I. Joe does not have an aviation ordnance person.
Okay.
They have to. They have to be there because there's no way these missiles and bombs and all the skidoos, the skipedos, and could be loaded on the vehicles without the technicians. So I was thinking of 2 individuals. So I'm kind of, instead of putting myself into the world, I'm kind of doing some creative work and creating my own 2 characters.
No. That's not the game, Roderick. That's not the no. That's not the. That is specifically not the game we're playing. You just joined the G.I. Joe team, Roderick. That's not the game we're playing. You don't get to change the rules. Right. You just joined the G.I. Joe team. It sounds like you're going to be the aviation ordnance guy.
Yes.
And what's your code name going to be?
Code name is Chaff.
I love it. Yeah, that's a great code name.
Yeah.
Awesome. And would you be
part of it? Aviation ordnance men's job is to load the chaff and flare buckets so that if the jet gets attacked,
fabulous.
You can shoot out aluminum or you can shoot out flares.
Now, are you stationed on the flag?
Yes, that would be awesome.
Okay, you're stationed on the flag. I love it. So you actually your figure you came bundled with the flag. So there's like 4 people in America that ever owned you.
Yeah, it came with little extra features because the ordnance crew hangs out up on the deck.
Oh,
and they've got a little
been
spot around the back.
If the Sky Striker HasLab goal had been fully bonus maxed out, you would have been one of the figures that came with it.
Yeah,
that's
one
great.
One of those super goals.
Yeah. You would have been a super goal. And did you participate in that? Did you buy one of those?
I did not get that one. I'm definitely doing the His Tank.
Yeah, I can't wait for that His Tank. But yeah. I did. I pulled the trigger on that Sky Striker because it was just so
it's
cool.
Beautiful. It's beautiful.
So cool. Well, Roderick, or should I say Chaff, welcome to the Joe and Joe team.
I love it.
This has been a real pleasure. I hope everyone enjoyed it. A little extended issue of Joe and Joe Illustrated. This was a delight walking through this issue with you. Was there anything else you want to talk about with your Veterans Outreach Center out of Rochester? Is there a resource people can look for? Well,
everybody can check out our website. It's vocroc.org, vocroc.org. We do work all over like a 7-8 county area in upstate New York. So any vet that's needs some help, we find a way to do it. And me specifically, I go out to see a lot of vets that might be isolating a little bit during COVID. We do social groups. We just get people out of their house now that things are starting to see a little light.
Well, it's really important. I know that PTSD, veteran, suicide rates and all that stuff is all-time high, unacceptable.
Yeah.
And so you're really doing the good work. We appreciate you both as fans of G.I. Joe / military stuff, but also just as citizens of this great country. We appreciate the work that you're giving back to the people that they gave to you.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man.
Roderick,
It's
my
feels
pleasure.
like I got to talk about everything important in my life, so I appreciate it, man.
You got it, brother. Well, welcome, Chaff. Thanks for being a part of the Joe on Joe squad, and I appreciate you and making a new friend. Nice to meet you. And
Yes, sir.
now you Joe and Joeing is half the battle.